I really enjoy modern SpongeBob, but for me personally, season 14 has been kinda hit or miss so far. For every hit like Tango Tangle, there's a miss like Squiddiot Box. But yesterday was the premiere of the episode Big League Bob, and genuinely, this is one of the best SpongeBob episodes in the past decade. The episode starts with this big shot fish entering the Krusty Krab. I like this guy a lot. He's voiced by Mr. Lawrence, and he has a kind of similar voice to the fish announcer. Anyway, and I apologize for the low quality screenshots, this episode literally just came out. The manager fish is converting a baseball stadium into a culinary stadium, and after seeing SpongeBob's moxie, he thinks he's perfect for the competition. Keyword competition, because SpongeBob has to compete against 3 other chefs for a title of Super Chef. My family always used to watch shows like Chopped and Cutthroat Kitchen, so putting SpongeBob in an environment like this is a literal genius idea that I never knew I needed. This episode also introduces this big turtle guy, and holy shit, I love this character. He's a very obvious riff on Bluto from Popeye, but if anything that makes me like him more. However, I think the best thing about this guy is that he's kind of a rival character for SpongeBob. Because after he gets eliminated from the competition, he tries to hijack SpongeBob's performance at the stadium. SpongeBob hasn't really had a proper rival character since Bubble Bass all the way back in season 1. And with Bubble Bass becoming more of a recurring character in the post-sequel era, that trait of his kinda doesn't exist anymore. So honestly, I really hope this guy returns in a future episode. He's an aspect of the show that I would love to see come back. Though if he does appear again, one thing I would change would be to not make SpongeBob so naive to his actions. SpongeBob has gotten more and more naive each season, so I'd love to see his kind of competitive streak come back. Also, I really like that this episode's humor is more based on slapstick humor rather than just "Look at the funny face!" I don't think the funny faces in post-sequel are that bad, but this episode is definitely a nice change of pace. This episode is also probably the best Patrick's been in a while. There's a running gag where he gives SpongeBob words of encouragement and then just disappears. They do it like 3 times and it's still funny. I know the joke is that he's putting on a character, but I don't care. It reminds me of early seasons Patrick and I really like it. Anyway, as expected, SpongeBob wins the competition, which means he gets to cook for the stadium. Nice callback. At first, SpongeBob does a great job handling the orders, feeding the wealthy elite while the rest of the crowd just watches, including Mr. Krabs and Squidward. Meanwhile, Bluto Turtle plants a bomb under SpongeBob's table, trying to get back at him for knocking him out of the competition. But it might not even be necessary though, because SpongeBob starts to struggle to keep up with the amount of orders. So Mr. Krabs uses a paper plane to fly him an order of, you guessed it, Krabby Patties. Squidward even comments on this in the episode. Damn, even he's catching on to these formulaic endings. You probably expected this by now, but SpongeBob makes a whole batch of Krabby Patties and serves it to the entire crowd, not just the rich people. Obviously, the manager doesn't like SpongeBob making fast food instead of gourmet cuisine. So SpongeBob forfeits, thanking him for the opportunity but saying he prefers the Krabby Leagues. SpongeBob takes one final bow before Bluto Turtle's bomb blows up, which just happens to launch him right on the Patrick's lap. Mr. Krabs puts SpongeBob's uniform back on him, Patrick makes a quick quip, and so ends Big League Bob. So yeah, it bears repeating, but I love this episode. It's got a really innovative and entertaining idea. It introduces a really fun and well-designed new character, one that I'd love to see come back someday, and some really nice dynamics between the main cast. It honestly feels like a more grounded version of Neptune's Spatula, an episode that also had SpongeBob in a cooking competition, except this time SpongeBob wasn't literally fighting God. Above all else though, the episode is just really well written. The manager is a really fun character, not just because of Mr. Lawrence's delivery, but also because of how he's written. His suave baseball speak is really fun to listen to, and his balance of written humor is really good, especially because post-sequel is very visual gag heavy. But like I said before, the visual gags in this episode are really good too, especially with Bluto Turtle and how old-timey he is. Patrick's jazzy persona is probably the icing on the cake of this episode though. He literally only has one joke in this episode, but that's still infinitely more refreshing than the joke just being, he's dumb. So yeah, this is easily my favorite episode of season 14, maybe tied with Tango Tangle. I hope the crew continues to make consistently solid hits like this. Until next time though, I'm Dille, and thank you for watching.